Alrighty, so this last 2 weeks were mostly to do with myths 8 and 9, which were in a separate video that was done the week prior, and chapter 8, which is the beginning chapter of morphology. Now, when I was reading this chapter in the book, I was thinking about like the unit as a whole. So the very first introductions were the idea of just trying to figure out like the symbolic and or word meaning when it comes to a word, which is what we got from that, which is phonetics. So the next obvious step when it comes to this process of learning the idea of linguistics, which is the idea of language, is the idea of words and the idea of the idea that we the idea of words and the idea of their formation. So that's when we begin to get into morphology. So morphology is the idea and the way that words are formed. So I was because in this theory class that I had, we went over Saussure, Ferdinand de Saussure, which was this theorist that talked about the idea that basically words have their sign, and there is a meaning behind every word, and with that, like the meaning of those words, like already have this affixed sort of prospect to them, right? So it's the sign to signify. So, for example, when you see the word horse, like you think of a horse. You picture a horse. It's the idea of image and word being culminated into one, and so that's basically so what morphology is the idea of words that are different. So they differ. For example, cat and dog. Cat and dog differ from the formation and meaning, which can be applied to every single it can be applied to every single type of language when you think of it like that. For example, when it comes to the Russian dog versus the Russian um, high or something, it's obviously going to be different because the constructs behind those signs obviously have a differing like definition or opposition to them. Um, so the I came across a couple of stuff when I was reading it that I was able to take away. First one was morphology, and it's free morphing, and it's easy words. Those are the words that is very simplistic when it comes to like the plural aspects of them, such as cat, dog, book, walk, and then the more complex ones are the ones that are much more they have a lot more differing formations and meaning, and those are the bound morphemes. Um, so there was another prospect in the book when we were talking about, not when we were talking about, when we come across it, which is reduplication, which is the idea that in languages, once again, um, it can also like I guess the word I can actually say is probably spread. The idea is that can spread that the plural and or singular prospect of a word is um, evidence. So I thought that was interesting when they were talking about when they were giving out words like cat, and they give the Indonesian word of cat and then the plural word, which is the same thing but twice or something. I thought that was an interesting idea when it comes to idea of the way that words are formed. And finally, the last thing I found very interesting was a hierarchical, um, the hierarchical graphs that when it comes to a word. So, for example, in dehumidifier, it's verb because it's D, and then all of that, all up to the point of the suffix um, which makes it a noun. But yeah, that was chapter 4.